hard work, hard work, work. There you go.
Forward.
Hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, work. There you go.
Forward.
Hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, work. There you go.
Forward.
Hard work, hard work, hard work.
Fall in. Hey, what's good? What's good? What's going on with everybody? Y'all know what it is. It's your favorite Vets in the Nets. First Formation Morning Sports so can come on and fall in as we get to talking about what has went down, what was going on in the last couple of days in sports, or just about anything that pop ups here and there. So, of course, for everyone, all those football fanatics, you know that both the NFL and the NCAA football is back. So it was a lot going on there. Finishing yesterday with Monday Night Football, which was a doubleheader. Of course, New Orleans Saints faced off against the Carolina Panthers, as well as the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns lock up. And we'll get to that, of course. But I'm trying to figure out where do I want to start. I had an idea of where I wanted to go when I initially started, but now as I get to talking about it, speaking about it, and engaging in reference to it, where is it that I really want to go? Do we start with the lesser of sports? You know what? Let's go there. Of course, always showing the love and admiration to the ladies. WNBA action is in full effect. As we know, the regular season has ended, and now they are locked in the series, with the first of the series being the best of five, in which best of three, best of five, in which best of three, in which two games get you the win of the series, in which, of course, already punching their ticket to the second round, the Las Vegas Aces, as they take care of business, getting a sweep, taking out the Chicago Sky last night with, I believe, an 80-92 win. Tonight, of course, on deck is our opportunity for the New York Liberty, as well as the Dallas Wings, to enact their will and get a sweep in their series, as the Wings will be taking on the Wings face off against I have a quick brain for it. The Wings will be facing off against the Atlanta Dream, and then the Mystics and the Liberty lock it up. Of course, if the Wings or the if the Wings or the Liberty win tonight, they go on to continue to push on to the next round and get the sweep. Of course, if they lose, that'll force another game to be played on Friday to determine who will win to go on to the next round. So, let's talk college. That's where we go. Let's go there. Let's go college first. It's the lesser of the evils. If you wasn't out in the last couple of days, and check it out, sports. Of course, you know there has been a slight shift in the college football scene. A lot going on in college football scene. Coach Mel Tucker, a head coach who is currently on suspension, is now expected to be fired by Michigan State University, as the institution looks to rid themselves of the burden which has come about with him as he is dealing with a sexual assault case. Of course, now we're starting to see chinks in the armor of Alabama, as they just barely got past South Carolina in this past weekend's battle, in which they had going through 2 of 3 quarterbacks on their roster, in which now the idea was, what are they going to do? What is the state of Alabama football? In state, they run the table, coming back after trying out their red shirt quarterback in Buckner. and basically came back to the ideation of they're going to basically go with Jalen Milroe, who started off the season before losing his 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 starting position after the debacle in Texas, in which he threw back-to-back interceptions. Jalen Milroe is back at the helm for the University of Alabama Crimson Tide, as they get ready to start in on their I guess you could say their slate with SEC teams. What's going on, TT? What's going on? Greatly appreciated. You have a terrific Tuesday as well. As you up and chipper as usual. Glad to have information with us this morning. So, but like I was saying, the Crimson Tide, you know what? It's interesting, right? And it enacts itself in so many ways, more so in sports a lot, when we see have a certain mystique, and you see a couple of players or a team that you just think is built a certain type of way, in which you have seen the success and the consistency of winning with that organization or institution, whatever you want to say, however you want to say it, whether it be college, pros, just a bunch of things, actors, actresses, shows, all that type of stuff. You build it's a certain aura that's built around them as you sit and view and watch and hear and read about. And once things are out of whack or aren't the usual, you start to wonder, where is this going? Of course, this is the same thing I think is being enacted with Alabama. Of course, being that we have known Nick Saban over the last close to 2 decades to have been a dominant force in college football. Everyone's Roll Tide, all them Alabama fans that are out there. We've seen a consistency as we see them go from Tua Tagovailoa to Jalen Hurts to Mac Jones to Bryce Young, which was 4 quarterbacks. A few of them, a couple, even in Heisman Trophy talks or Heisman Trophy winners, went through a gauntlet and were the wind beneath the wings for Alabama from a quarterback perspective. And now here we are, where they're basically was looking to pillage the transfer portal to bring in the next quarterback because they didn't think they had what they needed within their institution. Now here we go, Jalen Milroe back at the helm, and which is unfortunate because as I was looking over and reading some things, not too many defensive coordinators within the SEC think Milroe has what it takes. They believe that he's good in a certain aspect because he doesn't hit what Alabama needs, and that's the short and intermediate routes. But then, of course, there was a conversation made, and speaking of reference to, he was drafted by Nick Sarkisian, who is currently the head coach at Texas, who left a couple of weeks after Milroe committed. So it's like the person that brought him there, that was expected to be the offensive coordinator to put him in play, is no longer there. And then, of course, you go with O'Brien, who was there the next 2 or 3 years after the fact. It was looking at being the catalyst of, okay, and now he's gone. So it's like, okay, both offensive coordinators that was there that could have worked with Milroe are now gone. Now you have Tommy Rees, who was there, who has eliminated or taken away the strength of the RPO for him, and now that's the slack. So it's like, this is where you're basically at for Jalen Milroe, to where what was most likely been perceived as giving him the most bang for his buck and basically best development is now gone. Of course, saying things come up, people tend to leave and chase other opportunities. You have someone else come in that believes in a whole different philosophy, and it works that way. And so what it has done is just put Alabama in a position to where now they're basically being looked at as being bust, going from number 4 in the beginning of the year to now currently number 13, and not even just 13. The fact that they dropped even deeper into the top 25, and they didn't lose. Of course, what we know looking at it is it's not they didn't lose. It's a simple fact of they wasn't that competitive. They were it was basically they basically didn't compete as much as well as we would have thought. What's going on, MBB? Glad to have you in formation with us this morning. Everything's good. Copa Stick, how you doing down your way? I haven't even taken a look at the standings yet, man. So I don't even know how it ended up. But as I say, glad to have you waking up with us this morning. So yeah, so of course, yeah, Alabama now goes from where they were, and now they're going to be locked in with a top 25 duel, one of 6 top 25 duels between top 25 teams this weekend as they take on 15th ranked Ole Miss. So that, and again, here we go, up jumps another person from the tree of Nick Saban to where we're going to see what that outlook is. It's unfortunate. I mean, I ain't gonna say it's unfortunate. It's just hopefully the young man that could be demeaning or have a opposite effect when you look at the fact that okay, I was here and now he's back. Of course, the reason for him being back is Coach Nick Saban stated that he's seen the leadership qualities that he believed that is needed from Jalen and put him in position. Basically, he said that he took on. Okay, I got a dub. That's what's up. I saw it. Oh, if I got a dub, that means someone is 0-2 for the season so far at the start of the season. Funny how the tables turn. But yeah, so definitely is he said he basically is still the quality that he wanted to see in what he wants as a starting quarterback. Basically show, I guess, maybe looking at the fact of he was taken from the starting position and sat down, benched, or whatever you want to call it, and basically he still rallied around his teammates. He still tried to show and give support. And the end state is he got what he wanted to see that in the leadership aspect. He has been on record stating that he basically was more open to the fact he's not worried or it doesn't concern him as long as old school football isn't active, which in his terms are you end a possession with a touchdown or a kick, one of the two, whether it be a punt, a field goal, a touchdown. That's how you start. That's how you end possessions. If you're ending it with turnover or downs and things of that nature, that's not the type of old school football which you want. So we'll see how things continue on for Alabama. Are they going to be able to climb back into the seat? As of course they did take a loss, but that loss was to a top ranked team as well as a non-conference game. They was on the cusp against the SEC team. Of course, they have a tough test, like we said, coming up this weekend as they get ready to take on number 15 ranked Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. So we'll see how that goes. 13 versus 15 this weekend. And we're going to go from there. Now, on to other things, of course. Currently have a situation, right? Everyone's beloved Colorado. Now, I'm going to be first to say that I don't drink from the fountain of Dion. I just don't. I'm not gonna say I don't believe because I think Colorado is I ain't gonna say pretty good team. That would be just me speaking, but I think Colorado is talented. I think Colorado has something there. Shedeur Sanders puts on pretty good, in which I honestly believe Shedeur Sanders could potentially challenge that of Caleb Williams for that Heisman Trophy, as well as Michael Penix in Washington. Even Travis Hunter or then Travis Hunter, I think that's gone now, potentially if he's going to be out 3 weeks. But there's players out there that I think that are pretty good this year. And Shedeur Sanders is one of them. He, of course, consistently he's putting up those numbers in which got Caleb Williams the Heisman Trophy last year. When I look at it, so that's the reason for thinking that Shedeur Sanders is in a pretty good. But they have huge tests coming up in the last couple of weeks of September. Shout out to Virgos. He has a couple of tests coming up. That first test being they're going to be up against University of Oregon, Bo Nix, and the 10th ranked Oregon Ducks. That is going to be one of their first tests, even more of a test than what they faced with TCU at the beginning of the season against 22nd ranked TCU or 20th ranked TCU. And they're going to do it without who is potentially one of their top stars in Travis Hunter, because after being hit by defensive back Henry Blackburn during the rivalry of Colorado and Colorado State, Travis Hunter is going to be out with an undisclosed injury, which is expected to be most likely I would think a pectoral injury, an abdomen injury. For at least 3 weeks, which is going to put him out versus USC and both USC and Oregon. So with that being said, right, what we're going to see is, I think, in-state is potentially Colorado can continue the trek in which they've been on and with all the things that come with it, even if they don't beat Oregon, which I particularly don't think they're going to beat Oregon, but who knows? We never know what that outlook would be. But I don't think they're going to beat Oregon. But if they can even keep pace with Oregon, in my opinion, or beat Oregon, or just show that they can compete with Oregon, and Shedeur continues to put up the numbers in which he has been putting up, I think they're going to be in a good standing. I don't think they'll fall too far for the most part. I think they can probably fall, but don't fall out of the top 25. And keeping it that, as we all know, currently the Pac-12 is 8 teams deep in the top 25 rankings. 4 of those 8 teams play one another this coming weekend, which of course is going to eliminate most likely 1, if not 2, of those players going forth. So I look forward to seeing it. But Deion Sanders, of course, Coach Prime, as we call him, has been showing the ability to coach. As it was stated, the adversity, the whole demeanor changed a little bit as they was locked and broiled into a battle in Colorado State. But in-state, the resiliency of the players and the coaching staff came out and showed with being down without a player. It was evident that you seen Shedeur Sanders take it upon put the team on his shoulders and do what he needed to do to put them in position. Started out with that 90, I think it started before the 98-yard drive. And then, of course, you get the 98-yard drive, eclipsing a 11-point deficit to come back to win it in overtime. Of course, penalties took a toll on the squad in the last series of the overtime, in which they just wasn't able to come up to. But, of course, like I said, 19th ranked Colorado will be taking on 10th ranked Oregon. In Oregon, one of the early games this coming weekend. So we're going to see how that all fares out. If Coach Prime is able to just at least win or even hang with them, then of course that's no one wants a moral victory, but basically that's what it comes down to, in my opinion. In which now we're going to really see what it is, because after that, of course, Coach Prime goes back to Boulder, in which they'll host number 5 ranked USC in the yet another Pac-12 showdown. So of course that's going to be something to see. Of course, especially for myself, I'm a USC fan. In other games, potentially coming up in the top ranked opponents, Rutgers will be at number 2 ranked Michigan this weekend. Number 4, Florida State will be taking on Clemson. Number 6 to the 16th ranked Oklahoma Boomer Sooners, as my man Bishop would say if he was here. They're still trash, though. Will be taking on Cincinnati. Other top ranked games, as I said before, number 10, Colorado will be facing off with correction. Number 19, Colorado will be in Oregon at number 10, Oregon. Number 11 ranked Utah Utes will be hosting the 20th ranked correction. Where was Utah? Oh, the 22 ranked UCLA Bruins, another Pac-12 team. Of course, UCLA losing this game is definitely, without a doubt, going to drop them out the top 25. As Forrest stated, the number 13 ranked Alabama Crimson Tide will be taking on the 15 ranked Ole Miss Rebels. 18 ranked Duke will be at UConn. 20th ranked Miami will be in Temple. Other top teams, number 12 ranked LSU will be in Arkansas. 14th ranked Oregon State will be taking on yet again a number 21st ranked Washington State team. Again, another Pac-12 battle that is putting two top ranked teams in correction. Top 25 ranked teams against another one another. 14 versus 14 versus 21. Florida comes in at number 25, and they'll be taking on Charlotte. Number 1, Georgia will be taking on UAB, in which I got a bone to pick up with the comedian reference to that. What's good, Frat? What's going on, Roku? I hope your day is going good. But I have something to say about that. The third ranked Texas Longhorns will be facing off against Baylor in a Big 12 battle. Top ranked Ohio State will be battling with 9th ranked Notre Dame, another top 25 battle in which a lot of on the line. The opportunity for someone to be in or out of the top 10 when it comes to the rankings. 24th ranked Iowa will be taking on 7th ranked Penn State. 17th ranked North Carolina will be against Pittsburgh. 6th ranked USC will be, 5th ranked USC will be facing off against Arizona State. 8th ranked Washington against Cal. And that's what we have for this coming week. So before we go and move into NFL conversation, right? When you look at the fact of Alabama and Georgia. Alabama, of course, I know Alabama dropped as well because there was a team that jumped them. There's some teams that jumped them. But they struggled. And no difference how Georgia struggled this past weekend. How is it that, and of course, no one could, I don't think Miami and Michigan did enough to pool first place votes and then put them in position to get into taking over the number 1 spot. But I think that has to be taken consideration. Both Alabama and Georgia both struggled with their teams. Alabama was on the cusp, in my opinion, of potentially falling. Of course, they did what they had to do to put themselves in position to so that they wouldn't. Correction, South Carolina. It was Alabama, South Carolina. I'm tripping. South Carolina put up a good fight. I don't know if it's the eye test, because when Georgia basically shut down South Carolina in the second half and made it to where they weren't able to score anymore after taking it on the chin earlier in the day. Why is it that Georgia didn't fall as well? And so those are the things in which you look at and take into consideration. I know it's a little bit different. Alabama was playing against South Florida, maybe a different foe, not a Power 5 conference. But still, what does it have to do? What the inconsistent that is the part for me, the inconsistencies in what goes on with the rankings. Of course, we know the rankings are more so for to an extent to put a pecking order, but as well as entertainment. When is there going to be a consistency in what goes on with the rankings, in which I call out? So, of course, going in especially as we get closer to the end of the year, as soon they're supposed to start with the additional teams in the CFP and putting them in the ranking system. Like, when are we going to get a consistency with ranks? Because seemingly certain things happen to certain teams, and it doesn't always go for the same. It's not fair across the board, from my opinion, from my standpoint. So, going into this past weekend, NFL action, a lot going on actually. Unfortunately, saying y'all know if any for those that was taking a look last night at the games. Appreciate it, Tommy. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. We got to start a petition. But when we look at it, right, a lot. Unfortunately for Nick Chubb, as we seen last night, he suffered a knee injury, pretty gruesome knee injury, possibly same knee in which during his 2015 year in at University of Georgia, he really messed up his knee, tearing the UCL, MCL, and LCL in his knee, shredding it, kind of looking similar to the same thing, which comes up with from an aspect of, we already know it's likely, you're almost dead to right sure that Nick Chubb will be gone for the remainder of the season, even though it has not been reported. But I just think it's a possibility. It's a great possibility that he won't be coming back this season, to where now the Cleveland Browns will have to scramble to find a replacement, whether it's in-house, on the roster, on the 53, in the training camp, or they go and they pull some of the players that they didn't have. You still have Kareem Hunt, who's out there, who they did not re-sign. He knows the offense, I'm sure. He's able to, and he was his own version of Chubb at one point when he was at Kansas City, and showed a little of that in Cleveland. You got someone like Leonard Fournette that's out there. So I think they have a few choices that they can choose from if they care to. What's good, Drunk? Good morning. Glad to have information this morning. It's devastating for Browns, especially with the Deshaun weak arm. You know what? We're going to get to that, because I have a couple of things to say in reference to what I think we've seen so far, and I'm not impressed. I'm not really feeling it. Pick almost every game wrong this week. Kareem Hunt he's still a free agent. He's not on anyone's roster. So I'm willing to bet that he's probably going to get a call. If he doesn't get a call, then that to me, that tells us something else. Like, even one, there was something wrong with him, or it wasn't too much of a good separation in Cleveland, or maybe they don't see him as a certain way. So it's interesting, of course. Good morning, bro. What's going on, Lasana, man? I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry that you had to sit there and watch your team get dismantled. I ain't gonna even say dismantled, because that's another thing. Derek Carr, I'm gonna say it. Other people might not want to say it. People probably don't want it because their team. There's no hate on the New Orleans Saints, because I really did think that New Orleans is going to be the one to win the division this year. But Derek Carr is not it. Why? What is the hoopla about Derek Carr? I don't know. My man looks suspect. I don't know what to say about Derek Carr. What is really up with Derek Carr? He said, I'm used to it. Y'all was close though, man. Rookie quarterback, he got to get this. He almost pulled it out, you know what I'm saying? But it's definitely, Derek Carr was definitely helping. I don't know what's the deal with Derek Carr. He has all that stuff in which he done in Oakland, which is all fair and good and dandy in 9 to 10 years at Oakland, but I don't know what's up with Derek Carr. So, like Tommy just saying, different system, same results. And it seems like it's lackadaisical. Like, for when I was looking at last night, he looked like he didn't really care. Floating stuff, no zip on the ball, really bad institution, which at least he was man enough to state it and say he didn't play well and needs to put himself back in playing position. It got to the point I was wondering, like, is Jameis Winston a better choice at the court or the QB position. What would Jameis Winston do in this position? So I was like, I don't know. What's up with Derek Carr? Initially on paper, it looked like it was a good idea to bring him into the to let him sign in New Orleans. But now when you look at it, I don't know. Like, what is really going on? Is Derek Carr the answer in New Orleans? Of course, is the question. I watched a lot of Saints games last year. Carr is an upgrade above Winston and Dalton. Is he really though drunk? Carr is just mid, but that's it. Is Carr mediocre? Is Carr the answer in New Orleans? I'm trying to figure out what happened. Why did they go away from Michael Thomas last night? Of course, we did see there was a lot of deep downfield passing to Chris Olave at some point, to where it opened up the field a little bit. Jones was a problem. Williams, I gave some fits last night, but I don't know about Derek Carr watching them. I don't know if there's any Saints fans out there. What is your take on Derek Carr in the Saints offense? Taysom Hill was even a problem. So I don't know. But going back, of course, a little back in time, of course, to the Sunday games. A couple of good games, some good games. We continue to see the same type of rhetoric, in my opinion, when it comes to teams like Detroit, of course, losing a tough one versus the Seahawks. Of course, you know, me being a 49ers fan, I wanted to see the Seahawks go down, but that wasn't enacted. Of course, in that game, Geno Smith, 32 of 41, 328 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 sack for 17, a loss of 17. On the opposite side of the spectrum, Jared Goff was 28 for 35, 323 yards, 3 touchdowns, and his first interception in close to 400 passes. He throws his first interception, breaking the streak that was that they had, and then David Montgomery, 16 carries, 67 yards, 1 touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs, 7 for 17. Not the type of night in which I was thinking that Jahmyr was going to provide, especially after after he showed some promise in the first game. And then a couple of rushes from receivers. Khalif Raymond, 1 for 11, 3 for 7. Craig Reynolds. On the receiving efforts, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 6 receptions, 102 yards, no touchdown on 7 targets. Josh Reynolds with 5 receptions, 66 yards on 6 targets. Sam Laporta, 5 receptions, 63 yards on 6 receptions. Khalif Raymond, 2 for 46 with 1 touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs, 7 for 39. David Montgomery was 1 for 7. Antoine Green was 1 for 2. On the opposite side of the spectrum for the Seahawks, Kenneth Walker III, 17 carries, 43 yards, but 2 touchdowns in that fact. Geno Smith rushed for 3 times for 20 yards. Zachary Chandler, 4 for 16. DK Metcalf on the receiver was all right. He went out early for a brief time as he had a slight injury. Walked out to the back of the stadium. 6 receptions, 75 yards. Tyler Lockett, 8 receptions, 59 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Noah Fant, 4 receptions for 58 yards. 2 for 41 from Kobe Patterson, and Will Disley, 3 for 35. Jackson Smith, Jigba, 5 receptions for 34 yards on 6 receptions. So instead is Geno Smith tossed the ball around the yard. He was able to put it where it needs to be. OT, take the game to OT, and Detroit basically fell off there. But again, I think Detroit is a formidable team. I'm not too far from thinking that they potentially can win their division and potentially get to the playoffs. It seems like they just have to fix some things, of course. Maybe time or soon to be time to implement Jahmyr Gibbs, give him more and more carries as they seem to keep him limited in the touches he gets as far as rushing touches. But is I don't think Detroit is too far off. I think at some point, I think Detroit has a possibility to make some noise. But they definitely need to overcome a couple of things. Of course, C.J. Gardner Johnson is out currently, probably a pectoral injury that could put him out the rest of the season. So he's going to have to basically utilize his leadership off the field and kind of like galvanize the players and everything, and probably the fans continuously from that aspect, as he's probably going to be sidelined for the rest of the season. What other games were pretty good before we get into some of the other ones? The Giants and the Cardinals, of course, not a bad game. I didn't think. I just knew for a fact that the Cardinals unexpectedly was going to get a dub. In which that was not the case. New York really showed against resiliency and some grit, and coming back from 20 down in the second half, down 20-0 in the first half, and going on a tangent, scoring 31 points in the second half to basically edge out the Cardinals by the score of 31-28 over the weekend. In that winning effort, Daniel Jones, 26-37 for 321 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Did take on 3 sacks, only an average of 3 yards per sack, so not too bad. However, did lose their other star, Saquon Barkley, who's going to be out with a couple of weeks with what seemed to be a ankle sprain. Before he fell out, Barkley was 17 carries for 63 yards and a touchdown. Daniel Jones 9 carries for 59 yards and the touchdown. And Matt Breida did in his spell of Barkley get 1 carry for 5 yards. Jaden Hyatt showed out, 2 receptions for 89 yards. Darren Waller 6 for 76, showing what he can do in the short intermediate. Darius Slayton 3 for 62, 4 receptions for 40 yards and a touchdown from Isaiah Hodgins. Saquon Barkley scored 6, got 6 receptions for 29 yards and a touchdown. And Paris Campbell was 4 for 21 in his game. In the losing efforts, unfortunately, like I said, when you take a look at it, in which Arizona looked like Joshua Dobbs was looking like Kyler Murray needs to watch out. 21 for 31, 228 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 carries for 41 yards and a touchdown on the day. James Conner, 23 carries for 106 yards and a touchdown. That workhorse. Keontae Ingram with 6 carries for 6 yards. Receiving, Michael Wilson, 3 receptions for 56 yards. Zach Ertz taking back the hand of times a little back, 6 receptions for 56 yards on 8 targets. Marquise Brown, 6 receptions, 54 yards and a touchdown. However, 10 targets. Trey McBride, 2 receptions for 32 yards. Zach Pascal, 1 for 9, and Emery DeMarco, 2 for 7. But again, like I said, it's the fact couldn't hold them. Defense is a complete defensive debacle when you look at it in state. And what you don't want to see unfold, especially like what do you do at the point to where it starts rolling and you like everything what you try to do isn't working. And basically that's what it became last night. Not last night, on Thursday, on Sunday evening, as we just watched the slowly but surely the league trickle down and remove itself from in front of us, down 20 points, just a matter of 2 quarters, 30 minutes remaining. And slowly but surely, the Cardinals was chipping away at the score, even putting it to where it was 20-14, still a 6-point lead, even in yet well, technically more than that, because they had 8 points. The Cardinals scored 8 in the third. So 28 at that point, 28-14 at one point, and still yet we've seen it slowly but surely trickle away till it felt it was like water through hands. So hats off to the coaching core, the coaching staff of the Cardinals, because I mean of the New York. I'm sorry, not Green Bay. Of the New York Packers, because they did it. New York Giants. They did what they needed to do, put themselves in position, and now 1-1 and back in the competitive spirits. Another hell of a good game. The Washington Commanders 2-0. Washington Commanders as they took on the Denver Broncos. Denver had an opportunity, hell of an opportunity. It was a good game if you watch it. Sam Howell, 27 of 39 on 299 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 4 sacks for 33 yards. However, tough pill to swallow. Brian Robinson Jr. with 18 carries for 87 yards and 2 touchdowns. Curtis Samuel toted the rock one time for 13 yards. Sam Howell twice for 13 yards. Terry McLaurin, 5 receptions for 54 yards on 6 targets. John Bates, 3 for 46. Antonio Gibson out the backfield, 3 for 44. Brian Robinson Jr. did his thing too, 2 receptions for 42 yards. Logan Thomas, 2 receptions, 22 yards, and a touchdown. They did have a scare for a second as he took a hell of a shot in the end zone, but held on to the peel and was able to get back up. Jahan Dotson, 3 receptions for 22 yards on 5 attempts. Cole Turner was 2 for 21, and Curtis Samuel 3 for 19. On the other side of the spectrum, of course, Russell Wilson. So before I get into their stats, right, we look at another player that I'm starting to look at and see as he's not it either. Or it could be they just need to continue to go on because it's not Rome wasn't built in a day. Maybe it could be a situation where they just have to continue to go on and build the chemistry. But the whole Sean Payton situation in Denver seems to not be working as they wanted at this point. But it's early in the season. There's only 2 games. Or however, the Broncos are on 2. Russell Wilson on Sunday, 18 for 32 for 308 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 7 sacks, 31 yards lost in those sacks. He did have 6 carries, 56 yards himself. Javonte Williams, 12 carries on 44. Marvin Mims, 2 for 10 himself, 1 for Jalen LaVaca for 5 yards, and Samaje Perine 1 for 4. Marvin Mims was eating on the from a reception standpoint, a couple of easy targets as he has 2 receptions, 113 yards receiving with a touchdown. Brandon Johnson was 2 for 66 himself. Cortland Sutton, 5 for 66 on 7 targets. Jerry Jeudy was 3 for 25 on his 5 targets. Javonte Williams 2 for 14. Lil Jordan Humphrey 1 for 4. And it's when you look at it, it came down to what it came down to. So of course, as we all know, Russell Wilson with a Hail Mary effort, last-ditch effort at the end of the game, which ended up being successful. Wasn't it, everyone's starting to knock down the ball in those situations. Didn't get a chance to knock the ball down, of course. Ricocheted to the back of the end zone. And it was there to catch it. But however, interesting turn of events as a obvious pass interference call was not called on the 2-point conversion, and of course the game ended there as the Washington Commanders were able to take a 2-0 lead, 2-0 record into week 3 as they won 35-33 over the Denver Broncos. What's good, Commissioner Myers? I seen the post and everything. A successful event, I take it, of course. All the players, I seen the interaction and stuff like that, and everything from the Oklahoma City Thunder to Paramount Network with everything showing out there. So hats off to you and your crew in the Military Basketball Association. seemingly another successful event and continue on with your successes. Um, but yeah, another team that has success. Yes, success. I figured it was a complete and successful event. Hopefully, see many more. So, keeping in that same vein with the successes, um, the success. You know what? I'm gonna go here. Like we all know, presumably that the Dallas Cowboys, forever reason, has a coin phrase of America's team, right? And as being America's team, it has carried on through the decades. I've been alive for 4 decades. I'm definitely going to try to make it, as of course, do make a lot and get out to a lot of events, especially across military sports. But you know what, Commissioner Myers, I'm going to try, without a doubt, commit to that and see what we can do to watch to see all those players all in one place, continue to do that, do what it is they love, and be honored to be a part of that. Um, the Dallas Cowboys, as I was stating, consider America's team. We also have it where there's a lot of what people call Dallas hate, Dallas haters, and things of that nature. But usually, when that moniker is placed upon a team, is usually because a team is pretty consistent in winning. Now, of course, winning doesn't always add up to what we look at as, like we was just talking about, consistency of college football in the rankings. We all know people love to hate Alabama. Now people are loving to hate Georgia. And these are the teams that are consistent and top tier teams currently at this time. Alabama had that long run. Now that we're starting to see chinks in their armor and it's starting to diminish. I ain't gonna say diminish, but from an aspect of us watching, it's like, oh snap, this is happening. Now with the Dallas Cowboys, it's a little different. We haven't seen Dallas Cowboys make it past the second round in the playoffs in a long time. I think in the last 3 years, I think it may be. If I would have to fact check myself, but I'm very sure someone's out there that those off the right. I think the last 3 years the Cowboys have not made it past the first round, in which 2 of the 3 years they have been knocked out by the San Francisco 49ers. But the Cowboys right now, currently, if you're taking receipts and taking score, have outscored the opposition in the course of the last 2 weeks by a score of 70-10. That's a 35 game average. That's where we at. And as I speak on that, of course, we have a Cowboys fan that can sit up and speak to this for me. CC, what's good with you this morning, brother?
What's up with it?
What's going on, man? I guess you just came on just at the right time, man. Are the Cowboys in your opinion, are they for real? Are they the top team in the NFL right now?
Um, Defensively, they look real good. Defensively, we look great. Um, I'm still a little worried about the offense. I really haven't seen, the offense really hasn't been tested. The defense been playing so well. Um, the offense, I mean, five field goals in this last game? Like, that's a lot of field goals to kick. But when you're playing good defense like that,
Mm-hmm.
I guess you don't have to really score a lot of touchdowns. Yeah, even in the first game, same thing. Like short fields, not really been. Man, we ain't really been tested to see what our offense looks like first, um, which is different than like the 49ers. They found a test against the Rams, right?
Mm-hmm.
uh, Even though it was unexpected, but it was a test against the Rams so far. But Dallas, we haven't been tested yet, so I'm waiting to see us against a good team before I start. Because hey, the Commanders 2-0 also. You know what I'm saying? Are we talking about them being the best team? I mean, I mean, so it's. But I will say this though, uh, the way that defense playing right now, it's gonna be problems for a lot of quarterbacks. But what can we really do? I was wondering if the Jets would have went to their strength and ran the ball, how we would have held up. I was expecting to see a lot of Brees Hall and Cook in this last game, and we didn't see it. We didn't
I
see it.
I wonder was that because like you from what you was said in which they didn't want to put their that against they didn't want to put them against it because it was obvious. We as we all know, it's unfortunate another individual Zach Taylor in which he's just not it. And it's unfortunate and they're starting to see that. But is that fair to say because they was up against the Cowboys? And we see what the Cowboys did to the Giants initially, but then we see what the Giants and Daniel Jones did and when he got on track. So was it just a fluke in which what we seen on the first game of the season, which Dallas Cowboys, and then you come like you said, the vaunted test in which we thought we was going to see if Aaron Rodgers wasn't injured. We didn't even get a shell of basically a 30-point dribble, like you said. I think it was 5 or 6, 4 or 6 field goals at some point to where the offense slowed and sputtered a little bit. Of course, Dak Prescott 31 for 38, 255 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did get sacked once for a loss of 7 yards. Tony Pollard 25 yards, 25 carries on 72 yards. And then, of course, CeeDee Lamb had 11 receptions for 143 yards, but all them yards, no touchdowns. The touchdown came from Jake Ferguson, and that was it. Just Jake Ferguson. Yeah. So you know what I'm saying, and so you know what I'm saying, had that on the opposite side of the spectrum. Zach Wilson 12 for 27 on 170 yards, sacked 3 times. Zach Wilson, the leading rush carrier with 5 carries for 36 yards. I'm surprised he wasn't the leading receiver, but of course their leading receiver. Well, the receiver was Garrett Wilson, who had 2 receptions. One of the 2 receptions was a 68-yard touchdown. So he only had 83 yards on the night. It just there wasn't any resistance in state in a sense, which is unfortunate. Dalvin Cook 1 for 5. Dalvin Cook had 4 carries for 7 yards, and one of those carries was a fumble. Brees Hall was 4 carries for 9 yards. It just wasn't happening. It seemed like so. Yet again, the Cowboys did what they needed to do, and now they have a game coming up against the Cardinals. Maybe not another test, although Joshua Dobbs looked good in spurts, but the Cowboys are probably going to eat his lunch. Like, I don't foresee y'all really having a test maybe till I don't want to put y'all past the Patriots, but y'all play the 49ers week 5 in San Francisco for the late night game. Is that going to be their first real big test?
I think. Well, if you watch the game Sunday night, the Patriots gonna give you a test, regardless what the score, what the outcome gonna be of that game. The Patriots gonna give you a test like they did Miami. Like like they gave Miami all they could handle. They gave Philly all they could handle. The Patriots gonna be a small test though because the Patriots don't have an offense, man. If they had some. I think the Cowboys too fast. The speed of the Cowboys defense is too fast for the Patriots. I think, but I still know that Bill Belichick still come up with great schemes against teams, and I think Dak will see some pressure in that game. He'll actually get more pressure, and you saw the little bit of pressure that the Jets did generate. He almost threw the ball right to Sauce Gardner, man. It was Sauce Gardner dropped one. He dropped that pick 6. So that so we gotta keep watching for that, man, because I know that once Dak really, like I said, once we really tested our offense. I mean, you said it yourself. Look at your numbers. 25 carries for Pollard, like not even 3 yards a carry. When you look at it, 72 yards. So we didn't do much on offense. And CeeDee Lamb. Now, what I have seen in the 2 games is that they're gonna ride CeeDee Lamb to death. Like he getting a lot of balls thrown his way. He getting a lot of targets. He catching a lot of passes early on.
So Coach Albright says it's always too early to say who's good or bad. Coaches make adjustments and injuries happen. See what Pittsburgh did last year after they were being drugged the first 6 to 7 weeks. And which you're right, Coach. You know what I'm saying? At this point, it's just content in which you're speaking on it. In which it's going to probably shift right now. From the eye test, we see maybe San Francisco is like the top one. As we know, we've seen Philly hold that basically the whole year once they got a hold of it. But of course, their record spoke as such. So it's definitely going to be a situation where you're going to continue to watch and see. It's going to be shifting and jostling amongst those teams and stuff like that as they go and play. See people, of course, like we just said, injuries make a world of a difference as we see now. Now, whatever, just like no difference, whatever we thought with Cincinnati, injury has put them in the hole, especially. And now you look at it, Joe Burrow is potentially out yet, going to be out for another game, even though technically he's been out 2 games, even though he's been there. He's going to be gone. Chubb is out, of course. That's going to change the tide of what we see because Deshaun Watson, whatever, I'm starting to look at him like I look at Derek Carr. It's like, why did it pay you all this money? For what? It's like this is like we're going off of shells of players, going off of what they were. Basically the Trey Lance effect. So it's like in all these situations, they're making differences. Hell, we potentially can be looking at what we thought. We had our eyes looking one way, thinking about, okay, the rookie of the year is going to probably be, well, he's probably got a hold on it for the most part. But Bijan Robinson, but what's his name? Puka Nuka is looking hella good right now. His damn self, and we didn't even know who he was. The wide receiver for the Rams. And think about it. And when I look at it, like once Cooper Kupp gets back, can you imagine what that could potentially be with Kupp, Nuka, and Atwell as they're showing some promise? So it's definitely going to be looking. I didn't think, like you was just talking about, in which we'll get to that game in a little bit. Like you was just talking about the San Francisco 49ers and the Rams being a good game. I didn't expect that. Not for a second that I think that was going to be even the case. And here we was where we was down up until the fourth quarter in a fight until we was able to pull a couple of interceptions and get some separation. So yeah, definitely some good point, Coach. Tommy, to point out that of course is gonna take some changes and stuff like that. One game particular, or one player I like to say, I think I keep giving this player chances, Snook, and I don't know, should I, or is he what we thought he is, or has he been pulling the wool over our eyes? That player is Justin Herbert. 27-41, 305 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 sacks for 24 yards. Is Justin Herbert getting his just due as a quarterback, or are we giving him too much in your opinion?
Justin Herbert is a good quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I said it last year, and I'm gonna keep saying it. The coaching, man.
Okay.
Coach, he has a horrible coach. Put them in situations the deep. This guy's supposed to be a good defensive coach, but he can't coach defense for nothing. That defense is sorry. They're always playing behind. From behind. They always have these challenges. You see how much they gave up to Miami, and then they just played Tennessee, and they had Tannehill. We know Tannehill had struggles. They couldn't even make Tannehill struggle. I think Justin Herbert is just a bad situation of playing for the wrong coach. They should have fired Staley last year.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion. They should have fired him last year after that loss in the playoffs, after that comeback in the playoffs. Remember, he had making all the fourth down decisions and stuff the year before. Man, it's just the coaching. I mean, he a victim of coaching right now. I think that if they lose a couple of more games, you're gonna probably see Kellen Moore as their head coach, their interim head coach for the rest of the season. Because they got a good offense. You just said he threw for over 300 yards. They got a good offense. They putting up the numbers. Even against Miami, they put up the numbers. They scored points. They scoring points. They putting up the numbers. but your defense can't stop anybody. I just think Justin Herbert on the, he on the wrong squad, man. Or they got the wrong coaches in LA.
It almost seems like they're the new Detroit Lions that we didn't even know was the Detroit Lions at this point. Like you said, talented. You got Allen and Williams on your wideouts. You got Parham. You got I can't think of the the tight end at this time. You got Kelly and Eckler in your backfield. But then on your defense, you don't got shabby people on your defense either. You got both Mack and Bosa. You got J.C. Jackson. Like you have, it's talent. There's talent abundance that's on that squad. So I definitely don't know and realize what you're doing. Shout out, what's going on? 7 was cracking with you, man. Appreciate it, brother. Glad you have information with us this morning. So I don't know what to say for that. Joshua Kelly was 13 for 39, as you know. Austin Eckler didn't play. Darius Davis 1 for 10. More of a committee, one of wide receivers and running backs that basically didn't get them any rushing yards. However, Keenan Allen was able to act 8 receptions for 111 yards on 2 touchdowns. And that's on 10 targets. Mike Williams was 8 of 83 on 13 targets. Gerald Everett, that's the tight end. Everett had 3 receptions for 47 yards. And then when you look at, you was just talking about Ryan Tannehill, he was 20 or 24. That's pretty efficient. 20 or 24 for 246 yards and a touchdown. However, he did have 5 sacks for a loss of 46 yards. Derrick Henry, 25 carries on 80 yards. I think it might, but he did get a touchdown. I don't know if this is just, it's early. Like all the time we keep saying, 2 is only the second week. Second week in, but Derrick Henry already 25 carries, 80 yards, and a touchdown. Tyjae Spears 8 carries for 49 yards. Traylon Burke 3 receptions for 78 yards. Chris Moore 1 for 49. DeAndre Hopkins 4 for 40 on 5 targets. Of course, Nick Westbrook Ackline was the only person that got a touchdown in that throwing a touchdown to with 3 for 25 on those 3 targets. So Tennessee was able to pull it out in overtime and put themselves in position. Now 1-1. The Chargers are 0-2 in what I would say what would be a tough division, but currently Kansas City is 1-1 in that division. The Chargers are 0-2. The Raiders, however, lead that division at 2-0. And then
they 1-1. The Raiders.
1-1. Yeah, you're right. They lost their first game. So right now the division is seemingly neck and neck, or whatever case like that. Interesting enough, I think we are again at another season to where the NFC East is looking like the dominant division in the NFL. For whatever reason, which they continue to do their diligence and take care of things. But let's talk about a team that continuously. I'm not going to say. Let's just ask. I'll just ask the question outright. What is wrong in Chicago, in your opinion? So what is wrong in Chicago?
It's the coaching. The whole organization is messed up. GM, coaching, they not. I said this on your show before, man. They're not giving Justin Fields a chance with what they're not giving them good. First of all, whatever plays they running, they need to scrap it. They need to see that this young man is scared out there or something. He can't read the field. I mean, some of it's on Justin Fields. Don't get it wrong. You know what I mean? He missing wide open receivers. They might need to shorten the playbook down or simplify some plays. I mean, you feel what I'm saying? Like. Okay. He got to know, but as a quarterback, he got to know where the hot routes are too, man. Like he got to get rid of that ball. Like he holding the ball way too long. Means he not trusting people. And he was never really in college. He was never really a runner that he trying to be in the pros. I like Justin Fields. I think he could. I thought he could be a good quarterback, but what I'm seeing this year is like a regression. For real, it's like a far regression, but it's also the coaching and stuff, man. Like you gotta get some receivers that he has some rapport with because it's not working with the Claypool. So far, he can't find DJ Moore is open, but he can't find him.
Mm-hmm.
So they got to make some adjustments. The coaches, I think it's up to the coaches to make some adjustments and develop him a little bit more, man. But I think the writing's on the wall that the coaches, um, I think the coach and the GM are saying, hey, we don't want Justin Fields pretty much. They're leaving him out to dry, man. You know, like they're hanging him out to dry. They saying, hey, owner, you wanted this guy. It's other guys coming up in the draft. I actually think the Bears are playing for the draft, man. For a quarterback out of the draft. Caleb Williams or somebody, or what's his name from
Shador
UNC,
Sanders.
Shedeur Sanders maybe. But I'm thinking more. I think they're gonna go more like you. What's his name for UNC? May or whatever his name is.
Oh,
I
Drake
think
May.
there's gonna yeah. I think there's gonna be more something that Chicago looking into.
So of
Um,
course, Justice Fields, 16 for 29, 211 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 6 sacks for 42 yards. We know 2 of his interceptions are at least one of them was returned for was a pick six.
and
Uh,
excuse me? Did you see that pick six? Man, you threw a pick six. You threw a 3 yard pick six. I don't even. How do you even?
to his defense, Barrett was turned around and just made a good play on the ball. I think we have to say that at least. Garrett Barrett, some of that was Barrett. He made a good play. I don't know if Justin seen them or not, but it's really as Tommy's saying, they basically everyone has changed schemes to fit the players, and that seems to be what is not going on in Chicago. But of course, there's also conversation talks of references saying that it's because of Justin as well, saying Justin and what you just said it maybe not trusting. He doesn't sit in the pocket. He relies more so on his ability to run than he does to sit in the pocket, and he finds himself in certain instances as like that. Of course, Khalil Herbert 7 carries for 35 yards. Fields did have 4 for 3. Rashawn Johnson was 4 for 32. DJ Moore did have 104 receiving yards on 6 receptions out of 7. Cole Kemet was 4 of 38. Chase Claypool finally got into it a little bit. 3 receptions for 36 yards and a touchdown on the day. Khalil Herbert as well, 1 for 23 yards. Someone who is making me eat my words, it seems like every week now. Baker Mayfield, 26 of 34 for 317 yards, 1 touchdown, no sacks, no interceptions. Rashad White carried the total to rock 17 times for 73 yards and a touchdown. Baker Mayfield carried for 17 yards on 6 carries. Chase Edmonds was 2 for 12. Mike Evans showing him that is going to be an unfortunate situation when he leaves, because he said, these were his words, he said that it was a wrap for the organization if he goes into the season and he hasn't had a deal yet. He doesn't have a deal. He does have 6 receptions for 171 yards and 1 touchdown on 8 targets this past weekend. Chris Godwin 6 for 58 on 8. Cade Otton was 6 for 41. Rashad White got 5 receptions for 30 yards. Do you think Evans is going to hold to that, and we're going to see him in a different uniform come next year?
Yes, yes, because we know. Yes, because we know. We know when you get to a certain point, he already a Super Bowl champion.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about the money now. It's about what's the best deal for me in another area. And I know the Bucks are 2-0 right now, but man, I don't know how long that's gonna hold up as far as. But I will say this about Evans. Last year was probably one of the worst seasons he had in terms of drops. I mean, he was dropping wide open drops. Uh, he at least catching the ball for Baker this year. Like he wasn't catching it for Tom last year, you know. But this year he catching it for Baker Mayfield, and I think it's all about that auditioning. He auditioning right now for another team.
Mm-hmm. He looking good. His chances are looking pretty good. So Tommy asked about how long does a pocket hold up on average. I would say that what's the average about what hopes to add that is, of course, the 5 to 7 step drops to add some, but most pockets hold up what about 3 to 5.
About 3 seconds, man. You got about
3 seconds.
3 to 3.5 seconds to get rid of that thing.
And so
Especially nowadays, the defenses are faster. All defenses.
faster, stronger. the schemes. The different schemes and how they sent, in which I watched last night. One when they sit up and flooded, they came with a counter and then came with a late over the top counter to catch cars slipping. So it becomes more like obviously, like you said, Tommy, the pocket isn't what it should be. In some instances, it is. I mean, sometimes you have it to where it holds up, and you see quarterbacks with happy feet that aren't comfortable, and they're realizing, like, instead of moving and doing a lot of moving while they're looking down the field, thinking about, do I run? Do I get out about what I'm supposed to do? But the pocket's holding, which is a problem sometimes in some cases. So he says, so why don't they just simplify the wide receivers route? I think if you simplify it, you take away from the what could potentially be an offensive juggernaut, or what can be, or even an effective offense. Because like we talked about before, you can have mediocre, or what I know Bishop talked about it. You can have mediocre wide receivers and a good quarterback, a good or above quarterback, but you can't have mediocre receivers and a mediocre quarterback, or you can't have standout receivers and a subpar quarterback. And simplifying the route, I think, makes it like that. If you simplify routes and stuff like that, or even, I don't know, simplify the playbook. Like you said, he has been sacked a lot. So for Justin, it's like simplifying it isn't going to do any good. I think it puts it to where if you have, like, DJ Moore is a pretty good is a pretty good receiver. So simplifying it would make him he's not superstar status. So simplifying the routes and stuff like that now makes it to where they have to beat the opposition or get separation on intermediate routes, which means a lot of stuff, in which that means a lot of movement, in which you have everyone else that's moving. You're going to have a lot of outs and stuff like that, trying to take away, trying to get to the middle of the field, playing that game. Justin Fields, I think, he's not that tall, so I'm very sure he doesn't see the best over the line. Hence the reason why he's in can be in shotguns and already has that ability. But like I used to say when we used to play flag football, I always used to sit and tell I was center sometimes, and I had a pretty strong arm from the center, so I'd be like, "Hey, you can get 7 yards back." It's like, I'm going to get it, I'm going to get the ball to you, because you can't hold the pocket. It's like, it's hard to hold the pocket. So to create to help yourself out, get further back. I get it. So you just got to get further back and be able, so you get more time to be able to see. And so I guess that could be the same thing that could be put upon the with the pockets and the line and stuff like that. But again, you have to have some sort of a line to where they're at least giving you those 3 to 5 seconds. Because if you don't, then it's like, if you're dropping back, if you're coming from under center and your center is being pushed back on you while you're doing your 3 to 5 seconds drop, you in trouble already. So I just, like you said, maybe it's just badly managed in Chicago, and it's
not even just Chicago. Look at the Jets. Okay.
Well, is that his
Nathaniel,
okay?
Nathaniel Hackett is a case in point of a coach that benefited from having a talented quarterback. He made his name off Aaron Rodgers, right? Mm-hmm. He had Russell Wilson last year. Think about that. He had Russell Wilson last year, and now he got Zach Wilson, right? And what you see is the offenses that he tries to run only suit Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers made Nathaniel Hackett. It wasn't the other way around. You feel what I'm saying? Like, because he tried to run the same offense that he runs with Aaron Rodgers with Zach Wilson. That's not going to work. I agree, you got to make some adjustments. I don't know if necessarily the routes themselves, but also you got to, like, the read. I think it's not about the routes themselves. I think it's about the way your system runs on how you want the quarterback to read the field. You know, what's his first read? You know, is it far out? Is it close? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Those adjustments right there, like, because each quarterback is different, right? Like, when you watch Josh Allen and you see Josh Allen's eyes, he's always looking for the deep play first. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like, which is why he holds the ball a long period of time, right? Is that something that Buffalo? But you see, Buffalo switched it and they simplified it for him this past week against the Raiders, and he was able to get rid of the ball quicker. And he looked pretty good. I think he was 31 or 38 or something like that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I think it goes by whatever system they're running, man. Like you got the West Coast system that a lot of teams are running, and you see
Mhm.
that screen pass, that little screen pass, that little bubble screen to the receivers is more and more and more on teams, right? I think the Chiefs ran that so much against the Jaguars, like it was like, is that the only play you guys have, really? You know what I'm saying? Like that little screen. But what I'm seeing is each each offensive coordinator has their own thing, and each coach has their own system. To where, what are your first reads? Like that's what I would have to ask for the Justin Fields, the Zach Wilsons and stuff. What are you seeing first? You know what I mean? And then you
Uh-huh.
can make the changes, and then you can make some changes from there. Like, no, look here first, or look, or Bryce Young last night with all the check downs. Like
Nah,
over and
Bryce
over, he
Young.
was throwing it.
Last
You
night,
know,
last night he made Thien a star again. Like they like Adam Thien is back messing with Bryce.
but
But
outside of Thielen, it was a
uh-huh.
bunch of check downs to Hubbard. Like check
Yeah,
down,
yeah,
check
yeah,
down.
yeah, yeah.
You know, what do they call him? Check down Charlie. It was like it was like check it down. You know what I'm saying?
So, like he was
Like,
just saying, Josh Allen, 34, 31 for 37, 274 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 sacks for 7 yards. James Cook, 17 carries for 123. Damian Harris, 7 for 33 and a touchdown. A touchdown for Latavius Murray on 6 of 22 carries. Gabe Davis led the receiving, of course, 6 receptions, 92 yards, and a touchdown. Stephon Diggs, 7 of 66. Didn't have a single drop. Dalton Kincaid, 5 for 43. James Cook was 4 for 36 himself in that aspect, and Khalil Shakur was 1 for 11. Jimmy Garoppolo, 16 for 24 on 185 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, no sacks. Josh Jacobs, they had him on lockdown, 9 carries for a -2. Zamir White, 4 for 22, and 1 Trey Tucker carry for 34 yards. Devontae Adams was 6 receptions for 84 yards and a touchdown, but that was early in the quarter. He really didn't see too much productivity after that. Josh Jacobs, 5 for 51. Hunter Renfrow, 1 for 23. Austin Hooper was 2 for 20, and Amir Abdullah, 1 for 5. As the Buffalo Bills took care of business, knocking off the Las Vegas Raiders by a score of 38-10. As he was just talking about, Josh Allen came back with a vengeance as he didn't have a good showing the first time, but he basically showed up the second time around. So let's talk about this, right? The Atlanta Falcons. Are they real? Are they the real deal, or have they just been able to find themselves in the teams in which they plan to knock them off? Because they did go toe to toe with Green Bay, but they ended up becoming victorious, winning, just edging them out 25-24. Is Atlanta the real deal, in your opinion?
well, they got a winning formula. They
Okay.
got a winning formula. Defense, they might need to, a little bit more work on the defensive end, but offensively, man, I like what they're doing. Like you got two good running backs, the Algier and Bijan Robinson, and then you got another threat with Ritter. Ritter can run, break and run when he needs to.
Uh-huh.
You know, they keeping the now. See, that's a team that's playing with it to their strengths
With their
because
strengths.
he took a couple of shots downfield, but not many shots way downfield. They kept to the intermediate routes and stuff like that. Made it simple for the young quarterback to get a grasp on the game. And you see, if they keep it close, they can pull out. I think they can pull out a lot of close games if they keep them close like that. Just because they have such a force like running the rock. Like when they need 2 or 3 yards, they got ways to get that. It's gonna be hard to stop them short yardage and anything 3rd and 5 and stuff like that. It's gonna be hard to stop the Falcons just because they got that three-headed monster, man. They can come at you with so many different ways, and Bijan could catch it out of the backfield. Algiers could catch it out of the backfield. It's gonna be hard to stop that. And I slept on the Falcons. I'm impressed. I slept on the Falcons.
And see, I'm sorry to wonder. As I said, after the first week, I thought the same thing because I initially just thought that New Orleans is going to run through their division, but now it seems like the Falcons might have something to say. Desmond Ridder was 19 for 32, like you said, 237 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, sacked only once for 2 yards. Of course, that makes a difference because when he can get up out of there. 10 carries for 39 yards and a touchdown. Bijan Robinson was 19 carries for 124 yards. Tyler Algier, 16 carries for 48 yards. Drake London came back with a vengeance, 6 receptions for 67 yards and a touchdown on 7 targets. Bijan got a couple in there, 7 to 48. Jonnu Smith was 4 for 47. So definitely Atlanta is showing that they have some prowess. Jordan Love on the opposite side of the spectrum, 14 for 25, 151 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 sack. Taking A.J. Dillon showed up in replacement of Aaron Jones, 15 carries for 55 yards. Jordan Love got him 2 for 23. Dontavion Wicks with 2 catches for 40 yards, 1 TD. Jalen Reed was 4 for 37. Romeo Dobbs, after his showing last week, came back with a 2 and 30 night. But it just wasn't enough in state, just barely not enough. As Green Bay Foster 1-1 on the season after falling 24 to 25. So Jordan Love, you think he's ready? He's showing that he's ready, or you think we're just, I mean, like I said, 2 weeks. In these 2 weeks, do you think Jordan Love is going to be all right?
Yeah, I think Green Bay. I picked Green Bay to win that division. I think they're gonna win. I think they're gonna win the NFC North. I don't really see, and I don't think it's gonna really be much competition for them in the NFC North. I mean, unless the Vikings pick it up. No, I'm not counting the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions are gonna have the same problems all the time. They're gonna play hard. They're gonna give you all they got, but they're gonna fall short, especially when the games start counting. What I see with Green Bay though is that Jordan Love, he already has a rapport with those young receivers. He got some stuff to clean up. Um, Maybe when you put a little pressure on him, he gets a little nervous back there. But most quarterbacks do. But what I really see that made me think Jordan Love is ready is um, in that last drive, they didn't get it done, but a couple of those passes were on target. You know what I mean? Like he's on target. It's just the young receiving core got to be in position to catch the ball. You know what I mean? So once they familiarize themselves a little bit more together, and Lafleur, I underestimated him as a coach, man, because it appears that he knows what he's doing with that young receiving core, the young and a young quarterback, bringing them together like that. You know what I mean? I like that. Like I said, I got Green Bay winning that division easily too. Easily after first 2 weeks, I see them winning that division easily.
After the first 2 weeks, the Cincinnati Bengals are down 0-2. Both those 2 games were against division foes, in which now they have a 1-up with just 1 game each remaining against those teams. That being, of course, last week the Cleveland Browns. This week, the Cincinnati Bengals. The Baltimore Ravens. What do you think about, let's say, what do you think about when you pay these quarterbacks or these players all those buku amounts of dollars, and then they come out and then they start having lackluster seasons? Of course, we know Joe Burrow had the calf strain, in which seemingly is going to keep him out of potentially next week on with their 3rd week, in which now we could see them potentially 0-3. As they get ready, I think, face off against the Rams, who didn't look bad. Do you think this is the injury, or was Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens just better in this aspect?
The Ravens are a better team right now, and everybody knows it. Nobody likes to admit different things. Joe Burrow is good. It's cool. I'm not even mad that he got his money because he's worth the money. He's already proven that he could be worth the money. But how long is Zach Taylor, Coach Taylor, gonna be there if he can't put an offensive line in front of this guy and keep this guy upright and healthy? Like they got they've had I posted this on my Facebook, like diehard fan, man. You've had three years, maybe 4 years to put an offensive line around this guy, and you still won't do it. I mean, you just haven't done it. And this is like they kept saying that like this is supposed to be their best offensive line this year. If that's your best offensive line, then y'all in trouble. Like it's gonna be trouble, man. He can't take that. Like
The
it's
rushes because he was only sacked once, but it's like you said, the hurries and the rushes and stuff like that,
right,
constantly hitting them and getting to them and stuff like that. He was 27
right.
41, 222 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Um, his key receiver, T. Higgins, which he finally got on the ball. You got to think last week T. Higgins didn't get a single pass. He got 8 receptions, 89 yards, receiving 2 touchdowns this week on 12 targets. Tyler Boyd was 6 for 52 on 8. Joe Mixon out the backfield 4 for 36 on 5. Jamar Chase 5 for 31 on 8, which is interesting. So I guess what it's looking like you can't get them both going, and this is supposed to be the best receiving core in the NFL. And we looking at Atwell and Nuka is better than this right now for the Los Angeles Rams. On the other side of the spectrum, which is starting to give me some pause, Lamar Jackson, 24-33, 237, 2 touchdowns. He didn't get sacked a single time. He did rush 12 times for 54 yards. Gus Edwards had 10 carries for 62 yards and a touchdown. Justice Hill was 11 for 41. Nelson Aguilar led the core with 5 receptions on 6 targets with 63 yards and 1 touchdown. Zay Flowers up and coming, 4 for 62 on 5 targets. Mark Andrews back after he missed game 1. 5 receptions for 45 yards and a touchdown on 8 targets. Odell Beckham, although he did end up going out with the injury, 3 for 29, in which it's starting to look like Beckham he's just a decoy. Is what do you think about Beckham in his career at this point?
Everybody was wondering how he was gonna come back after being out so long.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't think he's fully back yet as far as whatever. So it's hard to gauge him. I think you can still get a little bit out of him. I didn't think he was going to do, you know, I didn't think he was going to go crazy with the numbers and stuff like that. But I think he'll be effective when it counts the most. Like in big games, like if he's healthy enough to play in big games, he'll show up when he needs to. I think right now the Ravens just filling out that offense. Like you know, not playing in the preseason and stuff like that. These guys just, um, I think Zay Flowers played in the preseason a little bit, but no Lamar Jackson and stuff like that. So they just figuring out the new offense. The Ravens are running the new offense, and I kind of like that new offense because it's more of a balance. Uh, you don't know if you're gonna get run or pass right now, and I think that's gonna play well for them.
So even though you're not a home team guy when it comes to your squad, but your home team did face off yesterday. On Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts, in which again new coaching system, new quarterback, and a lot of nuances for the most part. But yet they still came up a bit short. The Colts and the Houston Texans, in which Texans fall 31-20. CJ Stroud, rookie quarterback, 30 of 47 for 384 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6 sacks for 47 yards. Damian Pierce, 15 carries for 31 yards. Devin Singletary, 4 for 14. Nico Collins, 7 for 146. A lot of wide receivers went over 100-yard threshold. 1 touchdown on 9 targets. Robert Woods, just veteran, 6 of 74. Uh, Tank Dell was 7 for 72. Dalton Schultz 4 for 34. Brevin Jordan was 2 for 27. On the opposite side, of course, Gardner Minshew had to come in to spell Anthony Richardson after he went out after his second touchdown, but sustained a concussion. Currently in concussion protocol, he was 6 for 10, 56 yards. Gardner Minshew, 19 for 23 for 171 with a touchdown. Zach Moss, 18 carries for 88 yards and a touchdown. Anthony Richardson, 3 carries for 35 and 2 touchdowns. Michael Pittman Jr., 8 receptions, 56 yards on 12 targets. Will Mallory, 2 for 49. Kylan Granson was 3 for 16 with the touchdown. Zach Moss, 4 for 19. Alex Pierce, 2 for 28. And Josh Downs, 4 for 37. What do you think about Anthony Richardson so far?
I think he the best. I think he the best out of the quarterbacks, out of the drafted quarterbacks, as far as with the most potential to win right away. I didn't see that coming either. Like I
Correct.
don't think anybody saw that coming. But yeah, I think he's the best, and I think if he's probably gonna miss a game, maybe with a concussion or whatever. But I still think he's gonna be in the running for rookie of the year. Like nobody saw it coming.
Correct. And but I think what they need to do, they need to do their best to, because that's 2 games in a row in which he had to leave the game due to taking a hit. And so I think they're using him in that Cam Newton type of role, in which I mean you can't. I mean, if he has the body of it and able to, then so be it. But that's pretty dismal. 6 for 10, on 56 yards. But of course, 3 for 35 with 2 touchdowns. Uh, Obviously they're in the red zone, and he's being able to impose his will at that point. But of course, like I said, even though it wasn't the traditional way of a concussion, because it wasn't like he was hit head on. He basically was pushed after running in and turned around, banged his head against the turf in the while running. So now when you take that into consideration, they probably need to find different ways to get him for him to distribute the ball, or for him the limit on the runs, or he's going to be sitting on the sideline a little more so than expected. But true enough, he wasn't expected. I didn't see him coming. I surely didn't see him coming. And like Bijan, of course, ideally, now in my opinion, Nuka probably, if he continues at the rate in which he's continuing, but it's definitely something different, in which I think they just got to protect him. San Francisco 49ers, Los Angeles Rams. Another one in which I didn't see coming. I just knew that San Francisco was going to blow through the Los Angeles Rams. But they came out fine, up 17. I mean, tied 17-17 at the half. It was definitely going back and forth, back and forth. Brock Purdy, 17 for 25, 206 yards and a sack. Christian McCaffrey doing what Christian McCaffrey does. Like I said, I posted his. That's a bad man. 20 carries for 116 yards, 1 touchdown. Deebo Samuels, 5 for 38 and a touchdown. Brock Purdy, 3 for 5 and a touchdown. So 3 rushing touchdowns on the night. Deebo Samuels also contributed with 6 receptions for 63 yards. Jawan Jennison, a couple of key receptions, 2 for 51 on the night. Brandon Ayuk was 3 for 43 as they cooled his heels a little bit. George Kittle with 3 for 30 himself. McCaffrey contributed with 19 receiving yards as well. But Matthew Stafford doing what Matthew Stafford does, 34 for 55 for 307 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, only 1 sack for 10 yards. Kyren Williams, key, 14 carries for 52 yards and a touchdown. Stafford contributed with 17 rushing yards. We didn't see much, or we didn't see anything in Cam Akers, as he's expected to be traded, in which they're looking for trade partners. The saga in the Los Angeles with Akers is just ongoing. Finally, hopefully they remove it and get it removed and get it taken care of, because it's like, what are they doing there? Receiving wise, Puka Nuka, 15 receptions for 147 yards on 20 targets. Tutu Atwell, 7 for 77 on 9. Kyren Williams was 6 for 48 with a touchdown. Tyler Higbee, 3 for 12, and Schroenick and Jefferson, 1 apiece with 10 for Schroenick and 9 for Jefferson. What are you thinking of the new look Rams for the most part? It's a youth movement, seemingly.
I'm thinking, Sean McVay is really good at what he does. Um, Nobody saw the Rams being competitive this year. Like people can say a lot of different things. They can, maybe Rams fans did, but were optimistic, but nobody else was optimistic that they would even compete in the manner that they competed. So I think the Rams, coming out shocking Seattle the first game. I think it was Seattle they beat the first game.
Yeah.
Um, and beat them pretty handily too. It wasn't, like it wasn't really a good game. And then coming out giving everybody expects San Francisco to run away with that division, which San Francisco gonna win the division. But the Rams, it's 7 playoff spots, and the Rams looking like they might get one of those 7 if they keep doing what they're doing. So that's impressive with McVay. I know he got a veteran quarterback in Stafford, but like you said, the Puka Nuka, that guy came out of nowhere. Um, you think with Cooper Cup that'll be cool. Now the Cam Akers, I think they should look to see, like right now Cleveland gonna be looking for a running back. They might look to see what they can get for him out of the Cleveland organization or something, or get some draft picks or something to move Akers because you don't want that just hanging over your head. But for the most part, man, I'm impressed with Sean McVay. Um, losing all of his coaches and stuff like that. Going elsewhere and doing some different stuff,
Uh-huh.
but still being able to put a team out there that can compete.
Shout out to Sean McVay. So a couple three more games for the most part. Tyreek Hill, after a 200-yard game, brought back to earth with a 40-yard game, but still another score. Miami, or maybe it was what you said it was early at the beginning of the show when you topped on. Maybe it was the Bill Belichick effect. The Bill Belichick, in which Tyreek Hill said himself, he has the ability. Bill Belichick has an ability to limit him and do what he needs to do to stop him from getting his. In which, after scoring 200 yards, um, 200 yards on receiving yards, the game before and limited it to a measly 5 receptions for 40 yards, but yet a touchdown on 9 targets. Definitely makes a difference. Jalen was course for 4 receptions, 86 yards. Who attacked over 21 of 30 for 249, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, sack on 1 time. Leading rusher for the Miami, of course, Raheem Mostert, 8 carries on 121 yards with 2 touchdowns. Opposite side of the spectrum, Mac Jones, 31 for 42, 231, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. However, 4 sacks for 31 yards. Ramondre Stevenson toted the rock 15 times for 50 yards and a touchdown. Zeke, a little less carries this time, five carries for 13 yards. Then Mac Jones, 5 carries as well, but 25 yards, 12 more yards than Zeke. 0-2, the New England Patriots. Is it time for Belichick to hang it up? Do you think?
I think it's getting there, and I said just from watching that game, uh, the way he the way he throws down the flag, the way he was so disgusted with the referees, and it's like you should be disgusted with your team. You shouldn't be. I mean, for real, like I didn't see the referees making two. They didn't make any real bad
Egregious,
calls
yeah.
in that. I mean, you feel what I'm saying? For him to be mad with the referees, it's like you should be mad with your team and the understanding that Mac Jones, I think he all right quarterback. He's starting in the NFL, but I don't think he's that guy. And um, but then again, to his credit, this is what his third offensive coordinator, in 3 years. So maybe that's got something to do with it. But Bill Belichick, my problem that I'm having right now is that he thinks Mac Jones is Tom Brady. So he
Mm.
thinks that, so he thinks, in essence, Trey, he thinks he can get away with mediocre wide receivers, no speed, no speed, no whatever. He thinks he can get away with that. You don't even have two good tight ends. You got Hunter Henry as one. I don't know what the Gasicki's going to be overall, but you
Uh-huh.
know, but he's not using those sets enough. He's not playing to his strength. He normally would run the ball to death like Ramondre
With
Stevenson.
Stevenson and Zeke.
You know, but he's not even doing that. It's like what it's like whatever you got going on right now. That's not like Mac Jones last year regressed. this year he don't look much better. I know. I mean, case in point, he completed 31 passes, but only threw for like 230 yards. Like they're not going anywhere with what you're doing, Bill. Y'all got to start. They got to do
Opened
something
up,
different.
yeah.
I mean, a tough team. Don't get me wrong. He schemes well defensively. I like what he did. At first, I was confused when he was playing, like the way they played Waddle and Hill, as
Uh huh.
far as that defense, the three safeties way back. I was like, what is he doing? Um, but he tightened up when they got towards, as they got closer to the red zone, he tightened up. But that right there was enough to limit their production as far as limit the speed. So I guess, he still got some things, but I think right now, um, as a defensive coordinator, he's still good, man. But as a coach, a Hall of Fame coach, that's kind of slipping overall because it's about the totality of the team. And right
You
now,
think
that
you
team
think he started? You think he started to tarnish his legacy?
a little bit, like you're not producing any. You're not even getting to the playoffs. I mean, you know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Like you're not producing anything where you can say that you were contending after the Brady reign. You know what I mean? You're not coming with anything to say
Yeah.
that we are in contention for anything. And it's sad because I don't pick them to be last in the division. I didn't pick them to be last even with Aaron Rodgers. I picked them to be better than the Jets. Um, but them and the Jets look like they're gonna run neck and neck. But who's last in that division?
But who's last in the division? So of course, going into a couple of what you talked about at the top of the show, I had my choice words in reference to um, the New Orleans Saints and Derek Carr, which I continue to wonder like what was the hoopla about Derek Carr? Did New Orleans make the right choice in bringing him in and paying what they paid and all that type of stuff? Is he that much of an upgrade over Jameis at this point? Derek Carr last night, 21 for 36, 228 yards, one interception, sacked four times for 29 yards. Of course, Taysom Hill came in and spelled one time to throw a pass. He was 1 for 1 for 8 yards. Taysom Hill, leading rusher, 9 carries for 75 yards. Tony Jones Jr., 12 carries for 34 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jamal Williams was 9 for 29. And of course, Chris Olave, 6 receptions for 86 yards on 11 targets. Rashid Shaheed, 4 receptions, 63 yards on as many targets. Michael Thomas, 7 receptions, 55 yards on 9 targets, in which all of a sudden he disappeared. Foster Moreau was 2 for 20. Jawan Johnson, 2 for 13. Keith Kirkwood, well, that's basically where it ended at for the most part. Bryce Young last night, 22 for 33, 153 yards, 1 touchdown, 4 sacks for 14 yards lost. Miles Sanders, 14 carries for 43 yards. Bryce carried the ball twice for 34 yards. Chuba Hubbard was 2 for 16. Adam Thielen, 7 receptions for 54 yards and a touchdown on 9 targets. Chuba Hubbard, check down as he's called him, was his check down 5 for 34 last night on five receptions. Jonathan Mingo, the rookie second round pick, 3 receptions for 26 yards on 8 targets. Not a great stat when you look at it. DJ Chark was 1 for 15. And Hayden Hurst, the darling from their game last week, 3 receptions, 20 yards on 3 targets. What can help Carolina at this point?
Um, I think receivers getting open quicker. You got some receivers. They just got
Uh-huh.
to get open quicker. They got to get open quicker. But last night was crazy because you playing against the Saints. Got a good defense,
Okay,
especially
yes.
when it comes, to rushing the quarterback. They got a good defense, putting pressure on the quarterback, and then some of their schemes. I mean, Bryce Young, he's a young quarterback, so when they mixed up the coverages on him, it made it a little difficult for him. But at the same time, but they putting pressure. Like the Saints were chasing them, man. They were, uh, they were putting some pressure on them. So I think you're not gonna get that same pressure every game. So I think Bryce Young, he held his own a little bit, and then going down the stretch, he did get the touchdown. He got the touchdown, but on the other side of that, I think it was just too late when he got that touchdown. and plus it was the Saints let they foot off the gas, so to speak.
They
I
did.
didn't know
Yeah.
I didn't know what the Saints was doing. I was like, y'all just gonna live in prevent and let them just run down, go down the field and score. You know, if they would have got that onside kick, we might be having a different discussion today because that was poor on the Saints then going down the stretch.
A whole
Um,
debacle.
and as far as your Derek Carr comment, I want to comment on the Derek Carr. I'm not a fan of Derek Carr,
Mhm.
um, but I will say that him going to the Saints, it just shows you where Jameis Winston is right now, and his, um, Jameis Winston. I think the last couple of years, the injuries have really taken. Jameis has an arm, but that's about it right now. I think Derek Carr gives the Saints the best chance to win.
Okay.
I hate to say that too. Like, it pains me to say that, but it gives them the best chance to win. Winston doesn't get. Now, I'm sick, and I want to say this about New Orleans. Enough already with the Taysom Hill. Enough already.
Taysom has 72 yards rushing on 9 carries.
But enough with that already. Like I can't believe the Panthers let him get any yard. You know what's coming. You know he's gonna run the
If he
ball.
comes in, you know what's coming.
You know he's no threat to pass the ball, no matter where they line him up, right? Like he's no threat really to pass, or he gonna catch. Like if they line him up as a receiver, they might be getting ready to throw him the ball or something for some kind of trick plays. But you know what's coming already. It's like I couldn't believe the Panthers got caught slipping a couple of times with him, with him coming in the game. But I'm sick of the Taysom Hill thing. Like, hey, it ain't working to put up major points in a game. Now last year he won them a couple of games. I will give him that
Mhm.
when they didn't have a quarterback. Um, but that's different because he started as a quarterback. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? He was playing quarterback. But all these little trick plays with Taysom Hill, enough of that already, man. Like,
Texas,
enough.
Texas said he's gonna get his money. He gonna sit up and get his money. So of course, another person who I'm starting to side eye to, as I talked about kind of in the beginning, Deshaun Watson, 22 for 40, 235 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, six sacks for 25 yards. Of course, he did have 6 carries for 22 yards in the rushing. But of course, the team was led by Jerome Ford's 16 carries for 106 yards in spell of Nick Chubb, who had 10 carries for 64 yards at the time before he went out with his injury. Of course, likely he's going to be out for the remainder of the season. Amari Cooper, who I didn't think was going to play, so I took him out of my fantasy lineup. I had to go look and see did that cost me in those leagues in which I have him. He was 7 for 90 on 10 targets. David Njoku 4 for 48. Elijah Moore 3 for 36. David Bell 3 for 27. And of course, Jerome Ford 3 for 25 in receiving. Kenny Pickett 50%, 15 to 30 for 222 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 2 sacks for 22 yards. Najee Harris, who was, of course, seen as a workhorse, is not looking too promising for him right now. 10 carries on 43 yards rushing. Jalen Warren, 6 for 20. Pickens had 4 for 6 himself, a -6, and Calvin Austin was 1 for a -2. George Pickens 4 receptions or 127 yards. Of course, he did and a touchdown. One of those being the 71 yard play that which he had. But that's 4 receptions on 10 targets. When you start adding them targets, it starts to look a whole lot different. Jalen Warren was 4 on 6 for 466. Allen Robinson, the second, 2 for 12 on 3 targets, and Calvin Austin, of course, himself was 1 for 10. Miles Boykin, Pat Freemuth, and Najee Harris all 1 reception, but 7 yards between the 3 of them. Is this the year that we see that streak go away for Pittsburgh?
No.
Okay, they're gonna be on the back of their defense.
Yeah, it's gonna be defense. I thought Pickett had promise as a quarterback, but um, if they don't get an offensive coordinator that's or the offensive coordinator start calling better plays, they're not going very far because Pickett's not very good back there, man. He's just not. I mean, he's just not very good right now. I know it's only his second season. You got to give him that room to grow,
Mm-hmm.
but it don't look good. And The defense definitely bailed them out. The defense had to score 2 touchdowns last night in order for them to win. Think about that. Think about
Correct.
that. You can't do that every game. You're not doing that every game.
Yeah, it's yeah. And the offense, the defense is built that way to even be that professional going forth to be able to be like, okay, this is what we just gonna their defense isn't built like that at this point. It's not it's I mean they're looking good, of course. TJ Watt putting up the numbers, but it's not they're not built like that. Of course, this upcoming week, you got week 3 we're basically gonna be looking at first Thursday night game, San Francisco and the New York Giants, of course, coming up. Just to give a rundown what it looked like. Of course, Friday I'll make my selections. Tennessee and Cleveland, Atlanta and Detroit might be a good one. New Orleans and Green Bay, Denver and Miami, the Chargers and the Minnesota Vikings, New York and the New York Jets and the New England Patriots. It looks like they get back on track. Buffalo versus Washington. This might be a good one. Houston and Jacksonville. Unfortunate for Houston, in my opinion. The Colts and the Baltimore Ravens. Carolina Panthers and Seattle Seahawks. Chicago Bears and Kansas City. Dallas Cowboys and Arizona. Pittsburgh and Las Vegas. And then, of course, Monday, yet another doubleheader. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will face off, as well as the Los Angeles Rams and the Cincinnati Bengals coming up in those games, of course. Now, earlier you was talking about in which you was like Atlanta is surprising. This is the game that I think is an interesting one, in which, like I said, Friday I make my selection on who I believe, but I don't know. I might have to change my mind after some stuff in which you talked about. Atlanta, like you said, Atlanta's looking hella good. What's good this morning, Sauce? What's going on with you? Another Cowboys fan. What is up with Pollard? Why is Pollard getting the looks that he should be getting, or you think it's just going to be dictated by the games?
They know he coming. The games, they know he coming. Like last year, you weren't expected to. The last couple of seasons, you weren't expected to come. Now you're the number one. We scouting you. We practice it for you. So that's going to make a little bit of difference. And I think that offensive line they're not blocking like they should early on. But nobody's mentioning that for the Cowboys as far as the run game. That's what I was
Uh-huh.
telling you. Like not 3 yards of carry because the offensive line they got to block at some point.
So, of course, lastly, they can get a chance to really get into a couple of moves are being made from as far as when it comes to the round ball NBA. First and foremost, the expectation of Kelly Oubre expected to sign with the 76ers. Averaged 20 points last year for the Charlotte Hornets. Of course, in 48 games, he was out a little bit. Oh, he said getting in football shape. That's what he said. Applewhite says he's getting in football shape. Um, Kelly Oubre didn't play most of the time because he broke a hand, fracture in the hand, but he's getting back to it. With the additional Kelly Oubre, do you think this makes a difference for the 76ers in their play, adding Kelly Oubre to their offensive repertoire?
Regular season, I think it does.
Okay.
Uh, Playoffs is not going to make a difference. Playoffs are
Vic-
going to be the same old Philadelphia 76ers.
uh, of course, the Mavs will go ahead and re-sign Marquise Morris to, as we know, Marquise Morris came over with the trade that put Kyrie Irving in the Dallas Mavericks uniform. Kyrie at this point has re-signed to stay in Dallas with Luka Doncic. They've added a couple of young talent in Lively and Prosence. Now, of course, Morris is being retained. You still have Grant Williams as well as they got it Rashawn Holmes that came over. So I wonder where that puts Grant Williams. I mean, Marquise Morris at this point. If he'll even be able to get some playing time, we all know that the Mavericks didn't resign Christian Wood, in which the Los Angeles Lakers picked him up. So he's in LA. Marquise Morris now has an opportunity. He does have a ring. He won with the Lakers during the bubble season, as they say. Is this just insurance or do you think Marquise Morris might actually get some time to where he can do some things and show his worth?
It's just it's just to fill out the roster. It's just to it's just to fill out the roster because he's not even a good twin. You know what I'm saying? I think his brother's better. That's just my opinion. I think his brother's better than him. Uh, I think his brother's always been a little bit better than him. Um, hence his brother gets the minutes. You know what I mean? But I think for Dallas, it's going to be a good move because they're going to need all those pieces. It's a long season. You know what I mean? Um, so he can come in and play some minutes. I mean, but you looking at what 5, 6 minutes a game, something, 7 minutes a
Yeah,
game, or something like that.
yeah,
You're not really looking at make them
anything
count.
major. So, of course, over the course of the last couple of weeks, of course, the Los Angeles Lakers did give Jared Vanderbilt a 4-year extension. Basically, now he's a $12 million man. Uh, Lakers continue to make moves. Most people don't see it as anything big and significant, but now he's locked up and signed potentially for another 4 years after this. A little presumptuous, I don't know. Jared Vanderbilt, in my opinion, kind of like disappeared after the Golden State series down the stretch of the season where they needed him the most. It wasn't there, especially with Jokic torching anyone they put on him, and then Jamal Murray doing his thing. Um, and did that, but instead is Vanderbilt is a young talent. He did show some prowess when he came over. So now he has an opportunity to make it work for, of course, the next 4.5 years as his extension will take place. Will be start I believe next year. So I'm excited for the Lakers this year. I'm not going to even lie. I look
You're
forward.
excited.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think we're
It's
good,
gonna be
man.
the same. It's the
You know
same
what? You're
story.
right. You're right. As you were saying that, I thought to myself, like, it might be. I don't know. It might be.
This is why I say it's the same story. We know they're a pretty good team. As long but I mean, LeBron being a year older. For me, it's about how well Ham and LeBron coach those guys. And I say LeBron because he at that age where, man, but if he asked to do a whole lot like he was last year, then they gonna come up short again. Um, they're gonna come up short again. Like you gotta start relinquishing some of your duties. Anthony Davis has to be healthy, and he got to pick it up in order for them to win a championship. That's the only way they are championship bound right there, Trey. Is if you can reduce some of what LeBron has to do. Because you saw last year, they got swept, but he was gassed. He was, they did everything. He did everything he could to beat Golden State. You know what I'm saying? To beat Steph, and then he had no more for you. And he had a little bit, but he didn't have enough to do it by himself. So I think that's going to be the difference. Can you get these young guys to play valuable minutes when it counts? Can he coach them enough to say, hey man, you got to have confidence to take those shots. And not only that, can Anthony Davis be healthy?
You know what? When I think about it, if LA could have got past Denver yet again, could they have beat Miami?
Oh, they would have beat Miami easily.
You think so?
Oh yeah, the same way Denver took care of business, they would have beat Miami easily. Miami is they problem is it's just it's just Jimmy buckets over there and Bam Adebayo every now and then. They have nothing else. Like I think that the matchup would have been different. Like AD would have ate down there. Like he would have really had he would have had such a great series against them. And they have nothing to stop LeBron at all. In Miami. So I think it would have been like Denver won. I think the next couple of championships gonna come out of the West. I don't see any team in the East that can play against
Mm.
the way the Western teams are built anyway. But that's just me though. You can foresee the future. Like the Eastern Conference team, Trey. The only team I give a slight chance, is the Bucks if they can ever get over. But they can't even get out of the East. You know, like they keep having all these problems to get out of the East. And that's only because they got Giannis and he's so versatile that they can slow the games down. Like defensively, they can slow games down. Other than that, the Celtics are no threat to the Lakers, Golden State, nor any pick Denver. Pick one. Pick one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he said, as Apple Watch said, Milwaukee and
Look,
Boston is threats.
Boston is no threat. Like Boston is no threat. We because you already know what you're gonna get from. You've seen the Tatum and Brown. They're not gonna get you nowhere. And as long as you still got Al Horford, that you depending on guys like Al Horford to hit big shots, it's not gonna work. Like they got to get off that gas. They got to start getting other players that can make shots. And now without Marcus Smart, what are the Celtics gonna look like without Smart?
Yeah. So, lastly, before we get up out of here, Team USA. What do you think about the prospects of potentially bringing in, say, LeBron James, maybe Anthony Davis, um, Steph Curry, a couple of others? Do you think, without a doubt, unequivocally, that a team constructed of those type of players is guaranteed a gold in in the Olympic 2024 Olympics, or are we starting to get ahead of ourselves a little too much to where that is what we believe, but that could potentially be uh, a farce?
If those three play, if those three names that you mentioned were to play, then yeah, you're gonna win gold. You're gonna win gold. You can't because you have to send those level of players. You can't, like we send in second tier players, but you got to send that level of players. That's just where the global game is. The global game is we can beat your second tier players. You know what I mean? But I don't think they can mess with our superstars at all. I don't think they can. I think we have another level of better players that we can send, no matter the age either, because you're just playing in the summer, right? Like no matter the age, you can limit minutes, you can do whatever, you can play them at spurts, um, however you want to do it. But I think that's a better cast than what we got right now.
And we will see. So, of course, greatly appreciate my man Sid coming on this morning and rock with us as we talk some NFL, NBA, WNBA, all that type of stuff, college as well. Y'all know where we are usually for the most part here, Monday through Friday. Another sweep all the way through. Black or white. Appreciate those tapping in this morning. Tommy, Leslie, Rich, and a couple of others. Of course, TT, Tawan, Marcus, Drunk, and the Stanton. Always a pleasure. For those that didn't, who's watching but didn't speak, of course, all love, of course. So, Slip, what's going on with you, man? What you got going on? Where people can find
Um,
you when you get back out there?
I'm coming back with the Die Hard Fan Show here real soon. I'm out here in Iowa right now interviewing for Iowa Western, trying to get on as a assistant coach slash recruiter. Um, Looking at my options, you never know. I might end up in Atlanta. It just depends on how this goes down here. Um, Checking out the campus and all that stuff. So it's a real exciting time right now going into the fall. So
Okay, of course. As stated earlier, probably have to get Commissioner Myers or even maybe some of the coaches to give us a conversation in reference to what went down this past weekend as the NBA All Stars met up. I believe the East was victorious. Of course, if they was victorious, that means Coach Paris was victorious. So, of course, I know he likes to talk that stuff as he hates losing more than he likes winning. So we get them on there, getting close. All services, so I'm definitely gonna have to tap in where I get the all services coaches on, so they can get ready to talk that men's and women as we get ready to talk about that, because there's always a lot of conversation to where right now it says the Army has been dominant, but as Coach Justin Johnson was discussing, that has just been the overall Air Force has been who is really the talk of the town when it comes to military all service basketball. So get them on the talk. Don't want to leave out the Navy and the Marines, but it seems like Army and Air Force is doing a lot of talking. So of course that's some more stuff to talk about and get out there. Greatly appreciate Slick coming on today. Greatly appreciate y'all tapping in and watching. Look forward to speaking to y'all probably again tomorrow or maybe the rest of the week. Definitely on Friday as I continue to get instituted and situated being in San Antonio. Different jobs and stuff like that, which I'll be talking to and got some stuff coming up. So greatly appreciate y'all tapping in. Look forward to seeing y'all. Y'all know if you strike the notification, then y'all can't miss this whenever we tap in. So it's Tuesday, a couple of just 2 days into the weekend. I mean, to the new week. Enjoy y'all week. Snick, I'll talk to y'all when we drop off. Y'all enjoy y'all day. Peace.
Have a good one.